Nice.
I
You get
send
to
regards
elevate
to
the
the
spark.
I send regards to the Chabad house over there from you.
Yeah. You get to elevate the sparks. That's the idea. The Galule Babel, Shechina Imaim, Galule Edom, Shechina Imaim, Galule Mexico, Shechina Imaim, wherever you go.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. We
So
are on page Samach Beis, Samach Bet, and let me just recap what we did yesterday. We did already all the way to the bottom of the page, but I'm going to just go and recap. The first we'll start, it will be Iranian over there. So what we said was that the question was, Bnei Yisrael are traveling to Eretz Yisrael, and there's absolutely no need to go through the Yam Suf. Yam Suf is what they went in and out in a semicircle. So what was the point? And it said that the goal was to have the Mitzvah know that I am Hashem, but then you killed them all. So if they all died, that they didn't really know that I am Hashem, did they? So he explains that Mitzrayim is in your life. It means you're in Mitzrayim, you getting out of Mitzrayim, and part of Mitzrayim is getting out of the Yam Suf. So to explain this, he says, well, how do you do this every day? How do you get out of Yam Suf every day? So Al Shoshat Varim Ha'olam Hamed, the world stands on three things: Torah, Avodah, and Minus Chasodim. What are they? Avodah is the korbanos. How do you offer korbanot? Well, a fire in your life comes down from above, and what you want to do is give your life up to Hashem on that fire. So somehow in davening, it's going to explain that there's a fire that comes down, and you're aligning yourself with that fire. And every time you say a bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, you're bringing Hashem down from the hidden into the revealed, and you're discovering Hashem right now in your life. That's what it means, Baruch, to bring Hashem down. So he's getting at this general idea that we're in Mitzrayim, and we're stuck, and you're drawing Hashem's presence down into your life, and that's like the idea of offering korbanot. So picking it up, Ubira Inyan. Oh, Martin, להתקשר אליך כבר. הנה אמרו הזל. כל מה שיש ביום. Going back to Ubira. Whatever you have in the ocean, you have a dry land. Yam u'bechinas almadis kasi, you have yabash almadis gal. So the sea is concealed, the dry land is revealed. Is the difference between the dry land and ocean physically is in the sea you don't see anything. All you see is ocean. They also live in the ocean. So when you're in the ocean, you're in your life source. You're literally inside there. But when you're on dry land, you're on your source. You're not.
But
in
it also works in reverse. That something on the dry land can't live in the ocean.
Correct.
I mean, so does he has to speak to that issue also?
What are you going to say now? Because we're learning about how they're going to fuse, right? That's the Yam Suf.
Okay.
Even though everybody on earth lives from the earth, you can't be sustained without the earth. Fact of life. Nonetheless, you don't live in the source of your living. What's the difference between the concealed and the hidden? Again, we want to see where we're going with this. We're going to explain what it means to cross the Yam Suf every single day in your life. Because every day a Jew's got to get out of Mitzrayim. How do you get out of Mitzrayim? Well, part of Mitzrayim is Yam Suf. So to do this Yam Suf, how do you understand what Yam Suf is? Well, there's a Yabashah and there's a Yam. And until Yam Suf, they were two opposite forces, and there was no way to cross the sea. What happened in Yam Suf was that the sea split. So he's saying, what's an ocean? What's dry land? And how do you pass through? What am I supposed to do? Dry land is when you live in the source of your living, but you don't know about it. So you're on top of it. And sea is when you're actually in it. Okay?
Yep.
Now, dry land, consciousness. Ocean, subconscious. So look at your own soul. The soul has intellect and emotions. 3 intellectual, 7 emotional. On top of them, you have 3 garments, which are clothing them, thought, speech, and action. So, remember this? I know about my thought, speech, and action. These are the 4 worlds. Atzilus, Bria, Tzir, Asiyah. Atzilus is the first, the world of intellect and emotions. Bria, Tzir, Asiyah is the thought, speech, and action. I know about my intellect and emotions because of my thought, speech, and action. They are my clothing. But they too the thought, speech, and action. They divide into many different levels. In general, there are 5 levels Alter Rebbe speaks about. What's fascinating is, as a human being, you will always swim in your life 5 levels. Intellect, emotion. You have 5 levels all the time. Those are the levels you'll swim in. You'll swim through them, right? Intellect, emotion, thought, speech, action, speech, thought, emotion, intellect, boom, 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 all the time. Which emotion are you at today? What are you thinking about? All those are the 5 things. Of course, they subdivide, that's true. But those are your 5 things, right? And all the time you're swimming in those 5 areas. You're stuck. Now, you don't even know what that means to be stuck, because like, what should I be doing? Well, there's something which is non-intellectual, totally above it. These are creations of Hashem, actually. They correspond to Keneged, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. So those are 5 levels of revelation of soul. When you're doing action, it's a very low level of soul revealed. When you're doing intellect, it's very all the way to the top, right? Each one's how much of soul is being revealed. When you do
an act, let's say you do a mitzvah, nothing to do with the soul, no?
When you do a mitzvah, it's action. Today's Tanya. Are you still following with Tanya?
Fell off a little bit.
Huh? Come on, you got to get back on.
It's like you lose so many days, you're like, oh my God, how do I catch up?
Yeah, but go back and you can get them. Today's Tanya is all about the difference between action and intellect. What he describes is, right, what happens when you do a mitzvah, you get bound to Hashem. Yep. And when you learn Torah, you get bound to Hashem also. Yeah. Yeah. What's the difference in how you get bound to Hashem when you do a mitzvah or how you learn Torah? When you do a mitzvah, you're doing what Hashem wants. When you learn Torah, you're bound to the desire itself.
We even said that a mitzvah, it's more important to do it than to think. No, it's in a more...
That's not true. Mitzvah, which nobody else can do, it's true. Mitzvah someone else can do, you learn Torah instead. Torah always trumps. So he says, why? Because it's much more of a oneness with Hashem. That's all. So you see there's a difference within the level of how plugged in you are. So, every one of us, we have 5 levels that we're swimming in. Intellect, emotion, thought, speech, and action. But within those, you're jumping around, and everyone's different. You have one yid, whose job it is, what he does is best is klois nefesh. His soul is on fire. So to the soul itself in Gan Eden, so many levels in the soul. The point is, some are dry land and some are ocean. Sometimes you see in a revealed way. So let's just explain what this means. You have in your soul 2 types of levels. You have souls that are revealed, and you have souls that are concealed. And you have within that within the soul itself, sometimes you're in a consciousness, sometimes you're in a subconsciousness, right? You'll see very simple. When you're sometimes like on yourself, sometimes you're forward thinking. In the middle of understanding and you're intellectualizing. I'm trying to understand this. So then I'm completely in the world of revelation. But then I pull back and I just lose myself. Sometimes I just ever lose yourself like subconsciousness, right? So sometimes there's ups and there's downs in how you feel, and it's conscious and subconscious. Ocean and dry land, right? When you're involved in something, you didn't even notice the time flew by. That's subconscious.
It came late, but why is he comparing it to ocean and dry land? Like, why is that? How does he get to that? That's
coming out. The Yesh Mehem, line 3, page 124. The Yesh Mehem Shem Omad Discuss, Shem Betainim Mitzvahs and Karim, Shubachin Asev Klam, the Kulan Kamalei Choshev, and Bechin Azuyam by Isa Madregas Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hashalom. Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hashalom, who is he? He doesn't sense, right, reality. He walks in and he sees Hashem right away. What does it say about him? Shene'emar alav of Moshe, it said, Ki mina mayim meshisihu. I pulled him, I drew him out of the water. What does that mean? Mibchinas yam olmadis kasya. Moshe is a guy, right? It's fascinating that he had 11 names, and which name stuck in the name Moshe? Why?
He had 11 names?
Yeah. Moshe was the name his Batya gave him. Why she took him out of the water? She said out of the water, out of the river Nile. But the deeper meaning of that was Moshe comes from the ocean, from the water, under the subconsciousness. In other words, Moshe is a person who doesn't have a sense of self whatsoever. That's what it is in life. There's a sense of self, an ego, and there's subconsciousness. Right? Subconscious means when you're living life, right? You in Tanya, chapter 20, 21, 22, what did he say? We're in 23 now. In 20, 21, 22, what he said was that the world is actually all God. Everything's Hashem, but you don't see it. So what do you see? I see I see the point in front of me, and that's what I'm looking at. I don't see the bigger picture. It's all God. It's all Elokus.
So why do you say that Moshe Rabbeinu was not focusing on? He focused on the reality. The reality was Elokus.
But what I'm saying, he doesn't get stuck in the egotistical side of it. He sees right away what it is. Can you imagine if you could be that way?
That's why he asked me Anochi.
Yeah.
That's why he asked me Anochi.
Yeah. That's why he was stuttering, all that. In other words, if I'm a normal person, right, I have to work. What are we learning? Why are you learning Torah? The Alter Rebbe is essentially teaching you. You want to know how you learn Torah? The whole thing is what it is. There's a real appreciation, or whatever you want to call it, of the truth of what you see in life, and you don't see it. So when you see the external, what meets the eye, what happens to you is you get sad and depressed and upset and angry because you don't see the truth. But if you wouldn't see the external, you would see the internal. I just read a letter of the Rebbe. I'm like, great. He says, I open it up. He says, Marash Chayra, how can a Jew be in a state of Marash Chayra? Should ever be down. Matter. You really did. And if you just think about what it means, what a Jew is, and so how could you ever be down? What's the answer? The answer is because you're not mindful of what it means to be a Jew. You're thinking about all the external of life, and you're struggling, and the whole Torah, or what is it about? What is the Alter Rebbe trying to teach us? To put on Pnimius Dika goggles. Don't see the world for what
I
meets
wasn't
the
sure
eye.
if it was like one of those where you missed it.
Don't see the world for what meets the eye. Rather, look at and see the Pnimius. That's the point.
Kids learning in a Chabad yeshiva their whole life, they still have the same issues. Are there because we have the issues because we're in the world and we're this and we're learning and we're
Kids learning Chabad yeshiva, by the way, if you want to know, have a real problem. It's a real problem. Let's say I learned Chassidus for the first time when I was 17. I learned in the Chabad, whatever, day school, but it wasn't much of a, So the first time you hear about these things, you're 17, and that's old enough to really appreciate. Wow, if you learn it when you're 6, and you learn the parasha of the Chatchila about across the Yam Suf Mitzrayim, your limitations, or whatever. So when you grow old, they're like, okay, yeah, I just learn. So it bothers me actually. I say you shouldn't teach it to the kids, but the Rebbe says you should, so we do. And the reason is very pashut because there's so much more to go. If you got it when you were younger, right? Like the Tzemach Tzedek, the Alter Rebbe told him when he was a young man, he said he wanted to give him a bracha, he should succeed in Avodas Hashem. So he said, Zayda, no thank you. So why would you not take that? I'd rather do it myself. In other words, I want to succeed. I don't want the bracha for Avodah. I want to do it. Later on, he says, that was, years later, he says, man, I regretted it. Because I could have taken the bracha. Someone gives you $1 billion. He said, no, I want to make $1 billion myself. Yeah, but you could have taken $1 billion and make 100 billion, right? So he didn't do that. Anyway, so it's good to have it and then move forward. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't see a world, right? He sees only Elokus. That's Minamayim Meshisi. He comes from the world of concealment, of subconsciousness. And what he's doing is, in the Yam Suf, he's sharing that with us. This is why Moshe is stuttering. Why?
So in the moment that Moshe Rabbeinu sinned, for that moment this was hidden from him.
Where does he sin?
The Ramban says by the Meraglim, the Moshe Rabbeinu Chata, yeah.
But Chata doesn't mean sin. That's the problem.
I mean deficient. That's what the Ramban means. He was deficient.
Well, that's what Chata means.
Now, I know it means that, but so you have to be consistent in the
You
way
want-
you use the word.
What?
Point which toys do you want?
The
Real toys.
you know
Show me real toys.
the chota,
From here? Okay.
the chota, what's it called? By the whole the in Chassidus, there's a whole explanation about the chait of Mei Meriva, that he sinned, right? He messed up.
Yeah.
What it wasn't a sin. What it was is that it says Yan lo yamantim bi.
Right.
You know what that means? Didn't believe me. It means you decided to exercise a connection of intellect rather than emunah.
Okay.
Because Moshe hitting the rock was a question. What's better? That things should happen through hard work, right? Of
Yeah.
having to hit the rock and work hard to get there, or just by me speaking to the rock and having it automatically happen.
Right.
So he said, I'd rather have emunah and have it come through emunah. In other words, he wanted the Jews to have what he has, which is he's a water person, he's subconscious, sees God naturally. So by me just speaking to the rock, the challenges of life would be so much easier. And Hashem said, no, I want you to hit the rock. In other words, I wanted you to have to go through the hardships of life and be smacked up and thereby arrive at it.
He was supposed to hit the rock.
So I'm saying it was a willful question. What's better to do? Run through emunah or through hitting intellect? Right? Saying these, that's, you got to understand what was going on there. So it's a different part. Anyway, but when he couldn't speak, why? Because he couldn't express himself in the physical world. He had a tremendous mile of absolute letting go. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "V'nachnu ma."
What's that?
Yeah, v'nachnu ma. This week's parsha. What does it mean? We are what? We don't exist, me and Aaron. We are completely aligned with the divine will of Hashem. And you make a bracha when you say this. So it's interesting how in Tanya yesterday, he said that there's Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. They are merkavatu Hashem. There is no human being over there. All you have is Hashem. Hashem, and there's an Avram who just is a conduit of Hashem's energy. Now, you and me, we have the ability to do that when you do a mitzvah. Every time you do a mitzvah, you're becoming a conduit to divine energy, like when you give tzedakah. The Yid over there asked Hashem to help him, and then he asked you, and when he asked you, he's actually talking to Hashem, and Hashem, boom, gives him directly the shpah. Right?
So that is very hard, I feel. Not because it's hard to give, but it's hard. Sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to give this person.
Correct.
Why doesn't this person go,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel maybe it's right. Why should you give this person?
In Geras HaKodesh and Tanya, there's a lot of these, get into it later on, a lot of these explanations. What he says is the reason why you don't want to do it is because the divine energy has to break through and penetrate through the Nefesh HaBamis.
Well, I see fundamentally things that I don't realize. If people come from Israel and they want to collect money for their son's wedding, guys sitting learning, I don't agree with that necessarily. You know, and I'm giving him money now, like, and he's protesting against my family and everything, like, you know. It goes through my mind every time. Then I give, and I'm like, should I give? Should I not give? Well, what?
Yep, that's the hardship of giving tzedakah. That you think, you know, it's my money. Why should I give you?
No, but it's not even the money. Fine, take the money. You know, fine. I know you have to give tzedakah.
Listen, you have a limited amount of tzedakah. You got to decide who to give it to, and your decisions over there. Yeah, I'll tell you. Geras HaKodesh, there's a lot of discussion on that. But the point is that you can become a limb in one mitzvah. Not so Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were complete limbs to Hashem. Now, taking a step further, Moshe Rabbeinu, he gives us the Torah, because today's Tanya is that Torah is even higher than the mitzvahs. Right? So what is the Torah? Torah is complete Hashem's intellect, Hashem's being. That's what Torah is. Right? And Moshe Rabbeinu gives us Torah. So Moshe is the Torah. Torah is Moshe. That means there's no sense of self whatsoever. You and I, every time you make a bracha, you say, bring me down a bit of that for this moment. So right now I'm learning Torah. Okay, I'm going to try focus as much as I can. I'm learning Torah. Brain, let go. What does Hashem want? Become a conduit to divine energy in intellect and the seichel in the Torah. Did you notice that every Maimer says the same thing, right? The Maimer that we did in the Mashalach Paris said the same Nakuda. You brought it over there, right? Where was it? Somewhere there.
But it's interesting. Even when you say Torah Tzibulanu, you're not talking about the first two of the Aseres Adirus.
What do you mean?
Listen, when you say Torah, is 600 at 611 because yeah. So you're saying the Shaikas of Moshe Rabbeinu was not to the first two then?
No, the first two he was directly aligned with Hashem, and the other two, the other 611 mitzvahs he brought to us. So שיהיה בכנס עומד דיסקסיה בסבב גלם, שבכנס ביטול לכולה כמה כדחושן נמשך בגילי גם בעומד דיסקלי ברוח כל בשר. When you say Baruch Atah, what are you saying? That Hashem's being, the hidden, should be revealed. That's what you say. Baruch Atah Hashem, Hashem. Why is it that in the upper world they sense God and they see you and they don't have any issue? And me over here, my ego just blocks me, boom, and I don't see you at all. And I'm davening to be like Moshe. I want to bring out my Moshe. However, the next paragraph, page 124, this whole notion of bringing Hashem down, this is what a Kohen does. What's a Kohen's job? Take Hashem from up, down, that's Kohen. However, what is the work of the Levim? They have a different character trait. They bring Hashem from down up. It says, the Levi. So we're offering korbanos, right? Remember, just to catch up over here, talking about how to offer a korban to Hashem, because we said that avodah is korbanos in the previous column. So he said this just to get context. We're getting out of Mitzrayim. Part of getting out of Mitzrayim is Kriyas Yamsuf. How do you get out of Kriyas Yamsuf? We can understand that you have to do Torah and mitzvahs. Torah is, there's three levels. Torah, avodah, and minas chasadim. What is avodah? Avodah is korbanos. How do you offer korban? You daven and you align your fire with Hashem. What does that mean? Because there is the hidden world, the subconsciousness, which actually totally aligns and gets Hashem. And there's the consciousness which doesn't. And what I want to do when I daven is bring Hashem down. That's what a Kohen does during the korban. He actually brings Hashem down. A Levi, when he's doing the korban, a Levi is singing. And it says, Ve'ovada Levi, who he's doing something else in the korban avodah. What's he doing? And we're going to learn the Levi in our lives. Remember, this mimer is that when you get to Kriyas Yamsuf, you sing. It's a song mimer. So we're learning about the Levi who sings while you're bringing the korban. So his avodah is Olmadis Kasya. That I shouldn't even notice the Olmadis Galia, the revealed world. It shouldn't occupy any space by you whatsoever. Hashem, you're alone. He's not defined by the worlds at all. Not at all. Nor you know, this means that what would happen if you would get yourself to a state of being that you're focused on the matara, completely focused on the goal,
right?
And you don't have any time to ponder the why, right? I think we have too much time to think. Part of the problem. If you're a soldier in Gaza and you're going out to battle and you're there for a few weeks, I haven't tried it, but maybe you have. When you go out, right, you cannot allow yourself to ponder your wife and kids, to ponder what's happening, which I do. You have to be focused like a laser on the matara. And nothing exists. You eat, you sleep, the whole time you're there. You know something? When a guy says, I can't breathe, I have so much, and it's genuine, that's when you're succeeding in life. Those are your most successful moments in life. When there's absolutely no sense of self whatsoever. And that's what a Levi is doing. So the Kohen is offering the korban. He's saying, Hashem, I see you in this. I see you in this. Baruch Hashem, I'm bringing you down, drawing down the power of Hashem. A Levi, what is he doing? He's just singing away. So there's no breaks, right? Remember we learned this there's a mimer in Shmini where he says there's two types of souls. There's Nune Yama and Verim Shabi Abasha. So he says there's people who work in the dry land. So most of us are in dry land. You do this, the next day that, the next day that. Like it's you have a Rashbi type of neshama who's able to walk into a cave for 13 years and it's a cruise. How does he do it? What was he doing? He didn't
be my apartment for a few hours.
Right. He didn't have a phone, and mind you, didn't have any books either. So, and he was by himself, and he becomes Rashbi, right? And he doesn't do mitzvahs either. Nothing, not godly, right? He didn't have an esrog. He didn't have kiddush On Shabbos, he says, no, and he didn't have any mitzvahs. Maybe tefillin he had, I don't know. But he didn't have any of the mitzvahs, nothing. And yet he was, you don't need them because Torah overrides. So that's a someone who doesn't have any sense of self whatsoever. Now we're going to learn how the Levi does that and how we can do that. Well, a little inkling of that. And that's what it means right now, right? To get to cross on dry land in the ocean. What we do is we have something called song. How many words? Translate these words? I don't know. Song, melody. What's the zebra? Whatever. Singing. Because that's what a song is. And nigun is a movement of the soul. The song goes up, down, the song moves you. It isn't that the movements have any kind of intellect and anything in them. Marvelous. When the tznuah moves, the heart moves. So it's almost a problem when you have notes, right? And notes, the notes go C, D, F, G, A. No, drop the notes. A real nigun, you just your fingers move across the keyboard, and it just becomes one entity. That's why even an old nigun wakens you up. Why? What do you mean
an old one?
Huh?
What do you mean an old one?
If you sing a nigun that you've sung 400,000 times, can you still get excited by it? Go sing. I'm not talking about Alter Rebbe's nigun. Alter Rebbe's nigun, you can sing it every time, again and again. And if you get into it, that one. How about that one? It's a movement of the soul. So you could sing it again and again, and it's so powerful. It's not because of the intellect that you got to it. It's just there. You see the Kohen, what's he doing? Baruch Atah. Bringing Hashem down. That's what says Atah Kohen Leolam, the Pasuk says. A Levi, Ve'avad HaLevi, who? Ma ze who? Atah is I see Hashem, I bring Hashem down. Who is he? It's only he. There's no one else signs me. The concealed becomes revealed. No thought can grasp it. It's an excitement of the soul. I love how he's actually explaining this. It touches the core of your soul. Not to be just encompassing. This is why we have the psukim of song before Shema. And that's why you can't skip. We call it the verses of song. And you say, I don't understand. I daven every single day. It's so boring, the same thing. Because you're not singing. Songs you don't get bored of. It's like one nigun. It's a song. You just, why is it a song? Because you get into a rhythm of doing Psukkah Zimra every day. This deep understanding and appreciation. To explain it thoroughly so your heart gets excited. Heart and soul. If you say the psukim and doesn't touch the core of your heart, that is not a song. No. It's not a work of purity. This is what it means. Ashir ala Hashem, I will sing to Hashem. Now you understand the song. Psukkah de Zimra, the end of Psukkah de Zimra is the actual song. So the whole Psukkah de Zimra, Baruch Shama, we're singing to Hashem. Hoidu, actually, we're already singing to Hashem. Then you culminate, before you go into the Birkas Krishma, Az Yashir Moshe, Ashir ala Hashem, Lama ki ga'o ga'a. Well, it's not good enough like גיגה. למה גיגאו גאה פעמיים? פירוש שבחינת השירה הוא מפני גיגאו, למעלה מגאה. It's
As
not, I
Rashi
don't
says.
sing.
Right,
What?
that's Rashi's taich.
Yael gave Tanaya.
Yeah.
It's because Hashem is above the above. וגאו בחינת סבב כל העם ודכולה גם מגלוי חושיב. גאו is he's above the world. וגאו על גאה, הוא יסבורך בעצמו ובכבוד אין סוף ברוך הוא ממש. If I say Hashem is above, it means he's סבב כל העם, he's above the world. But now I'm saying he's above being above. By the way, that's why you wear a hat over your yarmulke. Double makif. Because you're saying Hashem is, he's not above me. He's above being above me. You get it? When you say Hashem is above me, what you mean to say is, I'm a nothing. I'm a nothing, but Hashem is big me.
Could you repeat? Why do you wear a hat? Because Hashem is above it. What's that again?
That's it.
I never heard that
Ga'o,
one.
ga'a. If I say
Go
Hashem
ahead.
is above me, what does that mean? Hashem is big. Hashem can do
Let me
anything.
hold it to show them.
Hashem can
Let me
create the
hold
world.
it to show them.
Hashem can make
No,
this, that, all the wonderful things Hashem is able to do. Right? So you have all the big things. Hashem is so great. He can do so many things. It's amazing. But Hashem is not great because he's great above you. He's not great because he can do great things to you. Hashem is great because the world is an afterthought of his.
Well, in a sense, Malchus for Malchus Kol Olam. I mean,
Yeah.
the same general thought.
Well, yeah, above that. I mean,
Above that. Yes, it's not even.
It's not kol olamim. The worlds are a concealment of Hashem. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nachon, you understand?
People always wear hats.
Yes.
Not hat, but something.
A double makif? Good question. So that's, you think, Ashira la Hashem gigao ga'a. If Hashem is above me, then Hashem, you're awesome, amazing. But Hashem is not above me. He's above being above me. He's unlimited. Right? That's what it means, ga'o ga'a. So that's why I sing. What does it mean I sing? I lose myself completely with Hashem. I think this is the idea, right? That's if you'll fall into a marash chayra, a negative space, only if you're thinking about yourself. If you're able to not even think about yourself, just the matara all the time, and that's the song. It's Hashem is Ein Sof, and no thought can grasp Hashem, and I'm able to reach that level. Bechinas ato Hashem levadecho. You are Hashem alone. Lo na'aroch elav kedushato. There's no comparison to his kedusha. Pirush afilu kedushos ashu kodesh umuvdo lo na'aroch elav b'she'ena begeder al klal. Even his kedusha, which is totally removed, right? Lo na'aroch elav. In other words, he's holier than being holy. So again, I wake up every morning and I say, I need to bind myself to Hashem. How do I bind myself to Hashem? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, through saying Shema. You're becoming one with Hashem in the Shema. But I can't say the Shema until I get into the zone. So, today, it's funny, today we need to, some shuls, you ever heard this? Some shuls on Friday night, they have before davening, they go into music mode, right? Because they want to get into the music over them. Do you understand? You understand that that's why lechatchila they made the lechun eranino. They're adding one more piece, basically. That is the psuke de zimra every morning. You understand what they were doing? We needed to bind ourselves to Hashem and Shema. So how do we do it? The psuke de zimra is the song of binding yourself. Now, that is the music. Right? So now we add another piece of music to add before the music to add to go, okay, whatever. But but this is the point. I think it's because if you learn Torah, I don't know how you survive a day without learning this, but if you learn Torah and you get into it, and now you're, okay, now go daven. So now it's, oh wow, what is Psuke de Zimra? It's the psukim of me singing. What am I singing? I'm singing, I see Hashem there, I see Hashem this, or I see God everywhere. And I'm stopping to think of myself. I'm just looking, and I get excited over it. Ki ga'o ga'a, because he's not above the world. The world don't exist. So what are you even worried about? There are no worries, right? So you say, but I have problems. Get out of your problems for a little bit, right? If all that's more a little bit to get out. And that's the song over here. So now we're going to go into the details of the song. What's the song? The song is, I'm saying not the whole Pesukei Zimra is a song, but specifically the Shira of the Yam Suf. What is it? So we say, Sus verochvo rama vayam. The horse and his rider were cast into the ocean. Mazeh. Kiniksiv, it says.
Hello, can I ask you a question before we go further?
Yeah.
We just spoke about. I'm sorry, I can't get my video on, so I'm not sure what's going on over here. But the question is only. We learned that the Levi, and that's Pesukei Zimra. We say that the Levi doesn't come with any asaga, it's possible as pileless. But we know that before davening, we have to have his boinus in davening. So now you're having his boinus before davening. That's one thing. That will bring into Krishma later. But there's boinus then is not a chana for the Pesukei Zimra, because the Pesukei Zimra is niggin, as boinus doesn't help for niggin. There's two types of achanas for davening. One of the achanas is boinus.
Why do you say that? Why do you say it's one of them help for niggin? I think it does. Why not?
He says over here in the Maimer, in this past paragraph.
Yeah.
Finde ich erst, wie gesagt, der Weg kann ich wissen, ich habe gesagt, mit Art Leute mit der Sorge, la heute bebenasai. Mach schon das beginnen als hoe beginnen sa tu la vadecha. Lees maar zo het is klar. Like the middle, mom is the middle. Geen na fille beding Yoshan.
Yeah.
Line begins mit ne gilat ne shaba kacha versus Levi Beshira. Leave the hands piles and every side ask. Leave inside the Sorge, la heute bebenasai. Why? Mach schon das beginnen als hoe beginnen sa tu la vadecha. Lees maar zo het is klar. En las paals was libeshin gea nefesh. Oh, so you're saying that the spider, the rooster, libeshin the gea nefesh goes leif. That can only come if you have his boinus. That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, if you pay attention to what's going on in davening, this is what it is. You're bringing yourself to a frenzy and an excitement over Elokus. Those words that Hashem Avadecha, right? They come right before the Oz Yashir. So it's like, think of the words. You're saying Pesukei Zimra again. I told you, I was davening the other day. It was just amazing. Hallelujah, Hashem in the Oris, Tanini behold to him. It was exciting. I get excited over Hashem from earth, in earth. Taninim, all your snakes, all your problems of the body, behold to him, all the depths you fall into. Eish when you get on fire, and Ubara when you get smacked across the face by hail. Sheleg when you fall into the snow, Bekiter when you're covered over in
I'm doing it now. We could do a whole davening course.
Even the storms in life are doing Hashem's will. And it's like, wow. And then like, oh, I'm always in Hashem's presence. And so you're starting to feel excited by it, right? And then you say, David says, Hashem, I'm bringing you down to my life, into the eyes of all the people, so that the eyes actually start seeing Hashem. And he says, Baruch Hashem, I'm bringing Hashem down. Oh, there you are. Bring all the way down from one entity to another, right? Baruch Hashem, amen, amen. What are those words? I'm bringing Hashem into my life in a real way. There's nothing besides God. That is a song. And you see the song, the Isbonanus leads to the song. So in other words, yeah, correct. Most songs are songs. This song is a song of Isbonanus. But I think at the end of it, you actually do the actual song. The Oz Yashir is the actual song. So now, but look at this. I think he's going to explain why I'm going to listen to this. Is the key over here. The horse and the rider. Who's the horse and the rider? Just saw a story today. The Rebbe Rashab was once standing in front of an image of the Yam Suf, and somebody painted the Yam Suf basically, and the Rebbe Rashab started to cry, and he was crying and crying and crying. And they said to him why. He was saying it was actually misboinen in the picture. And he was misboinen in what it was, and he was happy, that we're like he was thinking about himself, how we getting out of the Yam Suf doing it, and he was doing these bonus of this through a picture. So now you do it. Make the picture every time you daven. So what's the horse and the rider? This is a pasuk in the Haftarah of Shavuos. What does it mean? All the Mamorim of Purim talk about this. The horse that Haman was riding on. A leather is a horse. Why is it a horse? Very simple. Because you ride on it, right? You see what you're doing now. You're learning this. What are you doing? Taking a bunch of letters, putting them in your. Trying to put you're riding on the letters, Nachon? That's it. Aren't you riding the letter?
I understand, yeah.
What does a horse do? The rider jumps on the horse and he starts galloping, right? So you want to get on the letters and go places. When you're davening, what are you doing? You're saying a bunch of letters and then writing. The letters are nothing in comparison to the intellect which is inside them. The point is the intellect. Seichel leads him to wherever you want to go. Nonetheless, יש ישרו מעלה בסוס שיכול להוליך את הרוכב במקום שאין הרוכב יכול ללך שם.
Yeah.
The Maila and the horse is like, what is the horse? He's done nothing. The whole point of the horse is to let go and make sure that the rider goes where he wants to go. So there is no sense of horse. But the fact is, horses can take you places where you can't go without them. So don't underestimate what the horse is in your life. In other words, what it means is, even though when you're learning the letters, what are letters? Now, the Rebbe wanted to give us a point, right? So what does he do? He, like the Rebbe Shab says, when he went up to heaven at a very young age, told his son, I'm leaving you my writings. So what does that mean? It means in my writings, you'll find me. So really, I give it to you in a different way. I give it to you in my writing. He says, no. Chat is, the writings, the horse gets you higher than you would ever get to. It's not pshat that the seichel is enclosed in the letters. It's pshat when you read the letters, the seichel gets higher than the seichel could of its own. They take you to a higher place. So, יש יתרון ומעלת באותיות הדיבור שיכולים להגביר את השכל מרגע בית נעל, מה שאין ביכול השכל להשיג בצד עצם אסכולוסוי. If you would learn without the letters, you wouldn't be able to study as much. כמו שאני רב חוש see clearly, שעל די שהדיבור יתוסף השפעת השכל בשכלי. When you explain something, you understand it yourself. You ever had that happen? You learned something, you understood it, but then you explained it, and oh my gosh, now I understand.
Yeah, you don't know. You ask someone a question, all of a sudden while you're asking the question,
then you get the answer exactly. Because the letters have a stronger koyach. You know why that is? Because the letters belong into the nefesh. The ois, right, has a higher source in the nefesh than the seichel. So the letters are doing them. They're down here. Seichel's up there. Seichel means letters on the way in the bottom. But the letters on the bottom have a source on the top. So through saying the letters, you actually get to a higher spot than you would have otherwise. Which is fascinating. This is what happens when you talk davening. Although the speech is merely a garment of the soul, you can't compare it to the essence of the soul. It's only a ray of light of the soul, which is in your intellect and emotions, and certainly in speech. There's a very limited soul in the speech. But a human being, right? There's doimim, semeach, chai, and what's a human? Medaber.
we spoke about this. There's I read on Shabbat. I think the Berditchever says that there's even the Jews on top of the Medaber.
That's something else. That's true. But why is it called Medaber? Lama lo maskil, lama lo adam. Because Medaber is your greatest power. What is the difference between animals and humans? Animals talk. Animals don't talk. Humans talk. Right? So why is speech my greatest quality? That's what makes you a mensch. In the letters is elokus. Encompasses you from head to toe. When you have that, what are you doing? The Shama is completely enveloped in Hashem. You see it right now. You're learning Torah, or I don't know about you, but this to me is Gan Eden. It's amazing. You're learning the words and you're saying the words, and then you can actually feel your neshama on fire. As I wrote it in Tanya, the neshama doesn't have a power of its own. So now you understand the sus is the letters, the roichva is the content of the letters. So you throw it into the ocean. So the Yid over here is learning Torah. He's saying the davening, he's saying the words. That's the horse carrying the rider on it. But then the rider discovers that him and the horse get thrown together into the ocean. What does that mean? That's what I'm trying to do. When I sing a song, you know what a great song is? When I don't even notice that I'm singing. And suddenly you get to that point, right? I can't forget, I was by the Rebbe and watching it, and it was on Simchas Torah, and the second night I actually counted it. They were singing the Rebbe Maharash. They were saying Nini ya 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 da, and you sing it twice. But by the Rebbe was reading his Sefer Torah like this. And what happened was the whole thing just became one niggin. So they were saying nini ya. At some point, you didn't hear the song. You just heard the whole place going, it was Simchas Torah. And it's like it was a whole frenzy, and you felt your existence didn't matter. And that's how you answer all the questions. What you want to do in davening is take the horse and the rider, the letters and the teshma and everything, throw it into the ocean. There's no sense of self whatsoever. Right? And that's why it says before, and this is so awesome, because nobody has a clue what they're saying in this pasuk. And look how beautiful it becomes now. What does this mean? Hashem doesn't want the might of the horse. He doesn't want the thighs of the man. He says this every day, every single day. What on earth are you saying? Well, now that we know the letters are horses, it means the sus is a horse, is the limitation of Hashem. Hashem doesn't want the limitation that you just said the letters. Right? See the title of that. Not to make known to Hashem is gvura. To make known to Hashem is the limitation, is the gvura of Hashem. To become known to man is gvurata. That's a limitation of Hashem. Meaning showing Hashem limits and limits and limits to the point you get to this thing. So Hashem says, "Lo bigvurata sus yechpatz." I don't want the limitation of the letter. You see, you're saying the words of davening. Don't limit yourself just saying the words of davening. I want you to write it. The kula kamikale chashiv, nothing matters to Hashem. He sees till the end of time. The koyri adayos meiroish umachshava achas boris oilam mashvasim okamacher. I want you to get into that frenzy zone. Don't limit yourself to the letters and the external of what it is. He wants a sus with the rider. He wants a yidu davens and davens. Let's just say the letters. He davens and says the letters. He starts seeing the Yiras Shamayim in him. He starts seeing Hashem, and he's like, he gets into, and he's seeing the letters so many times. That's what the Remendel was saying. I was saying yesterday about learning the Maimer 360 times. And you learn it so many times, it doesn't exist, the Maimer. You're in a state of frenzy. When you're davening, if you understand the words, you lose touch with the words, and you just get in the concept, the idea starts flowing, right? You see it, right? When the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe gives an example that when you say the word lemishpachos seichem, if I give it to you in one letter after another, lamed, mem, shin, you don't see anything. But if I give you the word lemishpachos seichem, you didn't even know it was a letter, you just saw the word. If I give it to you in a sentence, you didn't even know it was a letter, you just saw the concept. And what you want to do is just see the elokus in it. So I just want to finish with this. You can acquire your entire world in one moment. What does that mean? Any pleasure you're going to get in this world is a yesh. And you don't have the sense of ayin. My lovers get the yesh. What's yesh? In 310 worlds, the yesh. Shai, right? But very nice. But stop being a yesh. Even a holy yesh. The yesh, look how stunning, magnificent this word is. The yesh, a person who's got the letters, how does he acquire his connection to Hashem? Through a song. And what does that mean? When he gets into the zone of seeing Hashem create the world, stop being a yesh, every little detail of life. The yesh is koneh olamo, is acquired his whole being b'sha'a echat, when he gets into the zone of echad. This is what it means. Hashem's might, Hashem's power doesn't shine in the little details of life, but rather when you get to the higher level. It's not in the das and machshava. Ela roitze Hashem shemeir chetzer v'tzelim mipim yusa es yireyav. Mishu b'chinas bittul k'may shama Moshe Hashem nachlama. Once an inspires once it's do this next time properly, but Sunday Mitzvah Hashem. But the point is, and in the absolute bittul, that's where Elokus lies. So yesh koinei olama, the yesh loses his sense of self and gets thrust into the ocean with a shah echos. And Levi doesn't want the gvura of the sus. He wants a person who lets go completely. Okay, we have to do that next time. Bezrat Hashem, out of time. Yofi, Shabbat Shalom lekulam.
Shabbos.
Is the yesh koinei olama b'she'echos? It's hello.
Uh-huh.
The yesh, right? is the yes to the person, but koine lo b'she'echas, that it's all included in the she'echas and the she'echas of the Eibishter. Isn't that the type he's trying to type to?
That's all what? That's all what?
The
Say again?
yesh is koine lo b'she'echas. The whole yesh, you have to think of yourself, loy b'vur tzilk echmas. Why? Because your whole being, your whole yesh is part of the she'echas, part of the she'echas of the Eibishter. I think it's a little bit a twist on the words.
Right, and
Not
Shah
you
meaning a
thinking
term
in the
and Echa meaning the
Shachas.
oneness of Hashem.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, we have to just understand deeper, but yeah. Yeah,
Continuing on
okay.
Sunday? Sunday continuing?
Bezrat Hashem.
Okay.